The best thing we can do about ourselves in trying to come out of this darkness is to try to learn everything about ourselves and to introspect, which is absolutely important and necessary. But this kind of self-discovery can and must wait. Before that, we need to understand what happened to us, so that we can build a foundation for our healing. And for most of us at the very beginning, right after we realize that we have been deceived and betrayed, there is only one thought that pops into our minds. Why? Why did the narcissistic person lie so much? Why did they work so hard to convince us that they loved us, only to throw us aside so cruelly after everything that happened? If they were never interested in us, why did they spend so much time with us? Why did they stay in business with us while they pursued other relationships? Why did they suddenly become completely different people? Why do they make us feel like we are going crazy? We could come up with many more questions like these. We can find answers to these why questions if we understand exactly how narcissists' minds work. By understand, I don't mean that we can or should emotionally understand their behavior or excuse it in any way. I mean that we can and should intellectually understand their behavior because by doing so we find new wisdom and take back our power. Narcissists have no conscience. Narcissistic people have no conscience, of course, but we need to know the distinction well. Narcissists know the intellectual difference between right and wrong. They understand the expectations of society. They understand what moral behavior should look like. They even understand that actions have consequences. The problem is that they just don't care about them. They don't feel remorse or guilt. They have no inner compass to guide them and so they do exactly what they want at any given moment. This lack of conscience means that it doesn't matter to them if they violate the rights, feelings, or safety of others. It means they have no boundaries and therefore can do anything. In short, it is a recipe for endless cruelty and depravity. Narcissists feel a limited number of human emotions. Narcissists are disturbed by emotional abnormalities, which turn them into empty shells. They experience shallow feelings, which means that almost all of their emotions, if any, are temporary. Many of them seem to feel anger and jealousy in full force, which fuels aggressive behavior. However, the anger they show is surprisingly short-lived. Because of this flaw, narcissists cannot really connect with other people. They cannot have genuine empathy, compassion and suffering towards others because they cannot relate to emotional pain. They live a life devoid of real pleasure, unable to enjoy the sunset or the company of an animal or another human being. They only get temporary, meaningless thrills from things like sex, food, or cheating and manipulating others. Worst of all, this emotional deficit means they cannot love. It also means that they must spend their whole lives watching others and learning to imitate behaviors that they cannot naturally perform. In this way they become chameleons. The emptiness they feel also causes them to be chronically bored. Boredom is almost painful for them and they will do anything to alleviate it. This contributes to their tendency to act impulsively and recklessly. For example, it is very common for narcissists to become addicted to alcohol, sex and drugs. And ultimately, they will do anything to get rid of boredom because they have no conscience and no empathy. They don't care who gets hurt in the process. Narcissists see everything in life, including relationships, as games to win. Narcissists have an insatiable need to win. This desire to win is so strong that they can sometimes bring themselves down in the process of becoming a winner. Since they cannot build real relationships, they see their interactions with others as games. Other people are just pawns to be played with. And because they have no conscience, they create their own unethical, ever-changing rules for these games. They use tactics such as mirroring, deception, projection, gaslighting, pity games and other forms of emotional and physical abuse to idealize, manipulate, confuse and intimidate others, all in the name of winning. Narcissists live to exploit others. The ultimate goal of every narcissist's life is to do whatever it takes to get what they want at that moment. Because narcissists do not understand love, they see other people as objects to be acquired, used and then discarded. And so in all their interactions with others, they follow a certain pattern, idealize, devalue and discard, over and over again. They constantly identify potential targets and treat them as sources of supply. Their desires change unexpectedly and suddenly. At any given moment, they may want money, a place to live, sex, a veil of normality or a short-term thrill. They throw people out suddenly and mercilessly, ignore them for days, months or even years, and then contact them again as if no time had passed and everything was fine. They find it amusing to lure targets back into their game if it serves their purpose. Nothing stops them from pursuing them in any way they want. Narcissists tell who they really are. Narcissistic rhetoric is another manipulation tactic narcissists use to exploit others. They specialize in playing mind games with others and say it is an effective way to confuse their targets. However, victims of narcissists then begin to see the truth behind these narratives. They do this manipulation in three forms: projections onto others, truthful words, and statements that are the opposite of the truth. Let us briefly examine these three stages. Projection. When narcissists project, they give camouflaged clues to their targets. They talk about how other people cheat, lie, or hurt others, as if they abhor such behavior, when in fact they are describing themselves. And in the depreciation phase of their relationship, they often project this negativity onto their targets in order to cause their victims to doubt themselves. It also has the effect of making the targets feel like they are going crazy. The truth teller. Narcissists tell their targets exactly who they are, but they do so in such a way that it is impossible for the victims to understand the consequences of the terrible statements. Targets may hear comments like, "You shouldn't be with me, I've never had a good relationship," or "I wanted to hurt someone." Narcissists turn these statements into pity games and secretly feel justified in exploiting victims when they don't understand that the statements are true. Statements contrary to the truth. Narcissists convince their targets that they will never lie or cheat and that they love them very much. They also promise that they will never do anything to hurt their victims. They regularly mislead targets by making claims that are the opposite of the truth. Narcissists believe they are superior beings. Narcissists see nothing wrong in using people and then throwing them away. They feel completely justified in lying, cheating, stealing, and manipulating others. In fact, not only do they see nothing wrong with their behavior, they actually believe they are incredibly superior to other people. Every time they cheat on their targets, they see it as evidence of the target's weakness. And they do not suffer from low self-esteem or insecurities, although they often pretend to feel this way in order to manipulate others. Rather, they are egotistical and arrogant. This makes it impossible for them to benefit from therapy and impossible for them to change. Why should they change when they already believe they are better than everyone else? I think this is the main reason why there is no cure for the narcissist. While it is very difficult to equip our brains with such a foreign and disturbing view of the world, doing so can help us protect ourselves. Everything I learned about narcissistic behavior helped me put the pieces of a terrible puzzle together. It was a powerful experience and I hope it will be the same for you.